Hey guys, this is Vanessa. My podcast is Life Paranormal with me. Listen as I serve you all things spirit, paranormal, and unexplained. Join me every other Saturday as my guest host and I recount our own experiences that will perplex and utterly terrify you. Life Paranormal with me is available on all major platforms such as Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Join the Lifer fam by following me on Twitter at VLifeParanormal. Follow, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you can always catch a ride on this spooky vibe.
Hello, this is JT, the host of The Paranormal Sun, coming to you live from Tower Studios here in Middle-earth, and you are listening to my friend Al on the Ghosts in the Valley podcast.
Al Cooley, and welcome to Ghost in the Valley podcast. Today I have Nicole Gaspard. She is an independent author with over 10 books released. She's a psychic medium. She has her own radio show, and Nicole is also a member of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. I'll get into my conversation with Nicole right after these brief messages.
The Mother-Daughter-ish podcast and YouTube TV show is all about the conversations that mothers and daughters have, the conversations they don't like to have, and the conversations that just have to be discussed. Join us on all podcasting platforms. Watch our show on YouTube. Hey, guess what? It's your mama's favorite podcast, and the podcast your daughter is so glad she found. Check out the Mother-Daughter-ish podcast and YouTube TV show.
This is Jerry Ayers with Supernatural Investigators of Minnesota, and you're listening to Ghost in the Valley podcast.
Okay, today I have Nicole Gaspard. She is an independent author, a psychic medium, host of Haunted Real Connections that's on Paranormal King Radio every Wednesday. Nicole is also a member of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. How you doing today, Nicole?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, and thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate it. Before we get started, I went to your webpage, and I love your daily quote that said, "I'm stronger because of the hard times, wiser because of my mistakes, and happier because I have known sadness." Well, that's pretty powerful. I like that.
Yeah, it kind of hit home with me too, so I thought I'd throw it out there.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a website, Nicole Gaspard website.com.
What led you into the paranormal to begin with?
Well, as I always say, as being a medium, I guess I was born with these psychic abilities, and later on I developed them. And mainly I think it's just the spirit that I run across. I'm always here to help the living or the dead,
Do you have any special spirit guides?
I probably have quite a few spirit guides and angels. I have a pretty good spirit team, I like to say.
That was told before a past guest that everybody has at least 10 spirit guides that we don't even know we have.
Oh yeah, and at least 1 or 2 guardian angels. For me,
and the guardian angels that look after you.
I probably have 10 guardian angels.
At least 10?
At least.
And how do you use your medium psychic abilities? I mean, people ask you questions, or do you help people out, or police, or anything like that?
I haven't done any police work, however, I am open to it. Yeah, I've done some training with my other psychic friends. We did some missing person cases. And I love to do remote viewing work. I can see or sense things in my mind very easily. But they'll show me a picture where this particular object or person might be, and they'll be right there.
Well, that's cool. Do you find that, being a psychic medium a blessing or a curse?
I would say a little bit of both.
I always find that to be an interesting question for a lot of my psychic mediums that's on the show, because I hear the same thing from all of them. It's a little bit of both.
Yes, I tend to hear spirits mostly as a medium. We hear spirits, and we try to relay their messages to whoever we're connecting with. And it all begins with just a connection. And if I have any, if not, I'll just simply say I don't have any connection right now. Maybe later on I might have something that makes it. I do have very strong psychic dreams.
Like sometimes like your mind just can't shut down,
Exactly.
And getting into your book, I see you have over 9 books, 10 books written?
At least, probably about 9 or 10. Almost a dozen. I'm working on a couple more.
Yeah, I see your newest release, Random Spirits Paranormal Memoir.
Yeah?
What's that about?
That's one of my favorite books I've written. It's mainly about my continuation experiences in the paranormal and the spirits. They're not always family when I run into spirits. They're spirits and ghosts that I never even met in life. So I thought, maybe I'm not random with it. They come in randomly. So I was like, that's a perfect title, Random Spirits.
I think I've read, maybe it was on the site, that it was based on true stories, what it's like to be a medium, and so forth.
Yes.
So you share what you go through, like being a psychic medium, and
yeah, and I try to explain what we come across. Try not to be afraid of it. A lot of us was want to run away, right?
Mm-hmm.
To really ground myself, and I always say, how do they make you feel? Do they make you feel afraid, or do they make you feel safe? So that's how I learned to discern spirits.
And I see you did your first book signing in January of this year.
Yes.
How was that? That's exciting. You're having your first book signing.
Yeah, it went quite well, and I explain people what I do and everything, and they let me sign their book before they purchased it. And one of my favorite bookstores, Barnes and Noble.
Right, that's one of the bigger ones too.
Yeah, I never dreamed I would be there because I'm an independent author,
That's really cool. Yeah, because I'm writing my first book right now, and hopefully it'll be out next year. It's only taken me 55 years to write this book.
Right, well, good luck with that.
Thank you. So I can't wait to get into the book signing, and especially getting my book out there that's taken me so long to write.
Right.
Because it was based on a true ghost story that I had in my house growing up. Looking back on that, I'm trying to get all my facts correct, from what happened inside that house.
Right, for me, it's not like the money or fame, it's the enjoyment of seeing my book actually in people's hands, reading it. Before I left the store, I saw this lady reading my book in the cafe, it's like, that was an awesome feeling.
Maybe you could help somebody too, for what they're reading. That's probably the most important is, sharing your story with somebody that can relate to you.
Right. And, sometimes a lot of people are afraid to listen and don't want to listen, especially with their own family.
Because about everybody I've talked to, in the paranormal field, which is a very wide subject, you're either labeled crazy or nuts.
Right.
And I got through all that stuff. That doesn't bother me. What I loved about this show is I can get everybody from all around the world on my show, and you can share your experiences being a psychic medium, or a paranormal investigator, or searching for Bigfoot, whatever, and share your story to other people out there that can relate to you.
Right, and that's very healing. You can share your story, and even if you don't have anyone to share, you can always write it down in a journal and share it later on.
I see you were on you did a paranormal investigation. You said still haunts you to this day. What was that?
It was a very active restaurant and a bar out here in California on Oceanside. I tell you, that place. You ever heard of the movie Poltergeist?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get you in trouble on it. But it's just like that. They put this restaurant over like a graveyard. I don't know if it's Indian burial, but over a graveyard. They moved the stones but not the bodies. So it's like haunted inside and outside the parking lot. And they have a creepy alley I did not go through. But I did anyway.
So what did you didn't carry any spirit with you, did you? I mean, out of there?
I hope not, but it would be surprising.
I do a protection prayer before I go in and before I leave, just to, I have crosses. I take this stuff seriously, on how far I can go and cross that line,
Very, very important to keep that protection prayer around you all times, especially in my work.
You have a Facebook page too. What's that one about? What with the paranormal?
It's called Spirit Chasers. It's basically a group right now, and I'm not really as much investigating as much as I like. So I just share like our experiences, and other things paranormal.
And your podcast, what's that? That's what's that about? What's the name of that?
It's a haunted real connections, like you say, every Wednesday evening, and I do interviews from, famous people, from actors all the way to the paranormal. I like to mix and match.
Mm-hmm. And if what on anything paranormal or a certain area?
It could be a variety. It could be paranormal or supernatural, or even I've had some film directors and actors. Yeah, study.
Mm-hmm. And I know you're the same way. If with all these guests you have coming on, you have all these questions, and they're no different than say Joe Blow who lives next door. Doesn't matter if they've been in a movie or number one song in the United States or Europe. They have the same stories that anybody else has.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let's get to the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. What's that about?
Mainly about members that are throughout the world. Actually, we're expanding more, and we're helping others in their paranormal activity. Some can be quite dark. Some are just like end up being psychological rather than demonic. Everybody wants demonic these days. It's not everything that's demonic. It should be something else.
Right. I've been doing this like for 40 some years, and I think in 40 some years, I've only come across demonic twice. And that during that time, I didn't handle that because I'm not experienced in that. So I'd have other people that handled that part of it. But mostly your angry or ornery spirits, as I call them, they're not demonic,
I like to call them gremlins.
Gremlins?
It messes my equipment. I'm like, stop it.
Have you ever had that where you felt like you were pretty close to that side, the demonic side?
Yeah, I'm hearing them too, unfortunately, from time to time. Not as often, which is weird. I'd rather not hear them. But with it, we don't have a choice. We hear about the evil spirits.
So in California, where would you say the most active spot would be?
There's a couple, actually. The Queen Mary ship. I've been there throughout my life. And I like to say that my grandparents used to work on the Queen Mary ship in their engine room. And that's where I had my one of my first encounters with the shadow people there.
I had my first encounter with a shadow person at that haunted house I went to a couple weeks ago. In all these years, I've never seen a shadow person. I've seen ghosts and spirits, but not a shadow person per se. And when I was in the house, which was built in the late 1700s, the gentleman's house, it was his house. He told me there was a shadow person right behind me. And at that time, I felt very ill, kind of nauseated. So I had to step out into the newer edition of the house, and I was fine. So I step back into the old edition. I see the shadow person behind him. I never seen that before. I was glad I went. I was really glad I went to that haunted house. I've been to other places that were haunted, and museums and mental asylums and stuff like that. But I have never, except for my own house I grew up in. I really haven't witnessed anything like that since the house I grew up in 50 years ago.
Oh yeah, but I've experienced things here, UFOs, from time to time. I'll see them right from my backyard. I filmed them, quite a few of them.
And what do you think that is? You think the government's not giving everything that they know?
It might be both.
Or could be they do know and exactly what it is, and maybe we don't need to know.
Right. I think one of my theories is because I'm so open to the paranormal, I could be seeing other things as well. I was going to say, for some reason, shadow people they make me feel a bit nervous.
Really, I'm surprised, to be in a psychic medium. You feel things like that happens before it happens or after it did happen, or both?
I would say both because I have premonitions as well. And unfortunately it's not all good premonitions. It's about, premonition of death.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't like those.
What about afterlife? What do you feel about afterlife?
Well, I'm having quite a few close calls myself. And I don't think I've had a near-death experience, but I've had, astral projections where I've seen my spirit family there. I've seen my great-grandmother. And I told her, am I dead already? She's like, no, it's not your time. It feels like you're dead when you're hey, you're away from your body, and it's like, she looks a bit younger and I hardly recognize her.
Or I'll say a doppelganger.
Maybe. But I haven't run across those yet, thank goodness.
I haven't either, but my brother contacted me a couple months ago, and he lives in Georgia, and I'm in Ohio. And he was in a restaurant in Georgia. He says he's seen me at the other table and thought, what am I doing in Georgia when I never contacted him? And here it wasn't me. I mean, the dude looked just like me, talked like me, my characteristics, everything. And he even sent me a picture, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks like me.
I had that similar experience on those. A friend of mine saw me on TV on one of those shows. I told her I would know if I would be on TV. I'd be like, hey, I'm on TV. But this lady was exactly like me, the hair, face, and everything. That was creepy.
So were you ever on a paranormal team or go with a paranormal team to investigate?
No, right now I'm not. Unfortunately, I tried on a local ghost team. There's a local ghost hunter team here in my town, but I don't think they're accepting any members right now. But I have told them about my Queen Mary incident, and they called it. Maybe one day.
Yeah, what your grandparents were? Did they operate the boat, or they were the?
They would be working in the engine room.
Oh, they worked in the engine room. That's right. That's right.
Where's the most active there?
That was the most active was in the engine room.
Yeah.
And you seen that yourself?
Yeah. Well, I've been through the engine room and the pool area where it's usually closed. I've been through there. And I tell you, I used to want to stay there for long.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that a few times where you know when enough's enough, and you don't want to tick off the spirits if they don't want you there.
Right.
I was in one where there was 4 paranormal teams, and the spirit didn't contact any of the members, but it picked the person that was in the back of the room because she was Hispanic, so it contacted the one that she could relate to. So I found that fascinating that the spirits will pick and choose who they want to speak with.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that. You either talk to men or either talk to women.
Mm-hmm. On your other books you have out, you have what, 10 books, at least 10 books. Are they all available on Amazon, or where can they get the books at?
Yeah, mostly Amazon, and some are up at Barnes & Noble.
And BarnesandNoble.com?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put your links at the bottom of this episode. And I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing all that with me. I appreciate it.
Sure, anytime. Thank you for having me. And happy Halloween.
I want to thank Nicole Gaspard for coming on the show today. And I will put Nicole's links at the bottom of this episode. Make sure you check those out. And make sure you come back on Halloween when I actually go through a walkthrough of a haunted house about 65 miles south of where I live here in Ohio. You don't want to miss that one. I'm your host, Al Cooley, and thank you for listening to Ghosts in the Valley podcast.